Indiana SRN, and I'm here to say thank you to our loyal sponsors, schools, coaches, and friends. Your support continues to keep high school athletics on internet radio and webcast. It is our goal to highlight student athletes throughout our great state. We are scheduled to broadcast over 300 games this season, and you can find us broadcasting at high school football stadiums, basketball and volleyball courts, baseball and softball diamonds, next to the wrestling mats, at lacrosse fields, and the soccer pitch. If you would like to know more about how to get your favorite school on radio or webcast, contact us by email at coach@indianasrn.org. Coach has enjoyed his time with you during the Sports Zone show. Thank you again. And if you're enjoying this show or would like to sponsor any of our broadcasts, you can contact us via email at coach@indianasrn.org. Thank you again for listening and watching Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. And don't forget to join us Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Sports Zone.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the Indiana SRN sports team, made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
Well, good morning. It is the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. On the hotline, our good friend Bill Peebles, the head football coach at Cathedral High School. Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Got you up early this morning at 11 o'clock. I'm sure you're used to sleeping in now, or knowing you, though, you've been watching film already this morning.
Hey, you know what? I was on my Peloton, which I got at Christmas this year. My wife was good to me, and I've been doing that religiously in the mornings, and I'm actually up early and trying to make the best of a bad situation with all this time.
You know, you should do that commercial, Coach. I think that there could be an opportunity for you to do that. That'd be awesome.
You know, it's interesting. I enjoy biking and running, and in the winter you can't do it. And I'm like, no way am I gonna do this. But I've enjoyed the whole thing. It's actually pretty good stuff.
That's cool. Hey, talk a little bit. You know, the last time we talked, we were right in the middle of basketball season, and then we met each other again at the wrestling. I think it was the Roncalli Cathedral match, which was sold out, and we webcast that one. And it was, I think it was CYO night as well, and you were providing pizza for everybody. And by the way, thank you for my slice or two slices I had. Talk a little bit about what you've been up to and what you've been doing during this pandemic.
Yeah, this has been hard, and the one thing that I have found out is I really miss our kids, and miss being around all of our young people. We spoke that night at the wrestling match, and I work in the admissions department at Cathedral, and we were having a CYO night with all the youth kids. And what I found out in working with kids my entire life, and then having the last 2.5 months where I haven't been with them, is how much I miss them. And it's, you get into this business because you love kids and you want to educate and you want to teach and you want to impact them in a positive way. And we've had a couple Zoom meetings with our players. In the first Zoom meeting we had, where we had everybody there, I got off that meeting and I'm like, gosh darn, I miss those kids, and I miss being around them. So it's been hard, and it's also been also reaffirming, like, all right, do I want to do this for the rest of my career? I'm 50 years old. And the answer is yes. So that's where I'm at with it all. It's been hard. It's been hard for our kids. It's been hard for everybody, but it's also reaffirming that this is what I want to do. And I found my life's passion at an early age, and it hasn't changed.
You know, you talk about your Zoom meetings, Coach, and I was kidding. Coach Dan from Covenant Christian, as we interviewed him a few weeks ago, one of the things he said is I have to have a big screen with all my kids, you know, because I want all the kids looking at me, and I want them to realize that I'm part of their program, you know. And he's got 40 kids going out. You got a lot more than 40 kids, so you must have 2 screens that you have to fill that thing with.
It fills a couple screens. You know, you have to kind of. There's a way it fills more than, I think we're at 3 or 4 screens, and depending on the number of kids who can join, and you know, it's great. It's not the same thing, and we all know that,
right?
I can't wait till we get back together. We just want to make sure when we do get back together, it's safe and that we're doing things and in the right ways, and that we have the right protocols in place. And I can't wait for it to happen. I'm worried it may not happen soon enough.
You know, we're about 40 days away from July 4th, which is the target date that people are talking about. The association came out, I think, about a week ago saying there might be easing some things in July. That's some good encouragement thing, but we just have to hunker down right now and do what we're supposed to do so we can meet that goal and then expand on that goal, because I think we got young people who will understand that and don't know right from wrong. We need to learn from them because they're setting a good example of doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Without a doubt. And it is hard on our young people. They don't understand it like we do. You know, Keith, I don't know what your age is, but it's pretty close to mine. I've actually gone through the coronavirus. I just actually got tested for the antibodies, and it's positive. So, I mean, I've gone through it, and it's really hard, and it's not fun. But if you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, you don't understand that the impact that it has on other people. And it is, it's real. And we have, part of our Zoom meetings is to help them understand, because they want to get out and do things on their own. Just like in the old days, we had captain's practices.
Right.
We can't really do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep, the social distancing thing is real. We want to keep everybody safe, not just our kids, but their parents and grandparents and all that. So it's hard to tell kids that age. And I do remember what it was like at that age. You don't want to listen to anybody, to let them know that you need to be safe. Do what you can on your own. Stay in shape on your own. Go run. Go lift. If you have that ability, or just do the body weight exercises at home. Do what you can do to stay in shape, so when we get back together, you're ready to go.
Let's turn the page a little bit. You have a brother that's also a football coach, Terry, up at Hansen. What was it like to have a brother that was your rival? And now, as you guys are coaching, and I know you guys coached against each other, but what was that like? And do you spin off of that a lot? And I know you guys communicate. Do you guys steal each other's stuff?
We absolutely steal each other's stuff. This is a really funny story. I played linebacker in college, and I was a linebacker and offensive lineman in high school. My brother was a quarterback all his life. Last year, they ran the option and threw the ball like 20 times the entire year. And the last 4 or 5 years of my career, we've thrown for 10,000 plus yards. And we're throwing the ball over the place. So I have stolen everything when it comes to the passing game from Terry, from my brother. And have had a lot of success with it. But he's a really smart coach. And he's taken his talent and molded it the right way. And he's running option football, and they had a great year last year. And it would be tough, but it'd be a dream that if we both met in the state championship game, which I think they're going to be really good next year. I think we have a chance to be pretty good this year. They have a chance. They're a really good football team, and he's built that program to the point where they're a contender in 5A.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, I do not. SRN will do the game, but I will stay away from that booth because both of you guys are my friends, and I would hate this chick be in the middle of that. There's no way I would be doing that. No.
The only person you have to really feel sorry for would be my father.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talk about that. Your dad's listened to a lot of games on Indiana SRN. I know when you were at Southport, he listened in, and Terry was part of our group a few years back, and he listened to Harrison. And, it was one thing is when we talked about the coaches, he would always text me and say, that's my son or that's my boy. He kind of digs what we do, and that's kind of cool to have your dad be able to be involved in that.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. I enjoyed every second of your involvement with us at Southport, and it added a lot to our program.
Hey, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, here's something I want you to do. It's a little bit of homework assignment in 2 minutes. I want you to think of your greatest coaching move ever. And we'll talk about that when we come back in 2 minutes. You're listening to Indiana SRN and the Sports Zone.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
It was a challenge that was given by my father. He wanted me to give back much more than I had been. Then I realized that when he said more, he wanted me to see how I could give more. We're willing to serve others, and we're not expecting something in return.
We're building those futures here. If you're about building better futures one story at a time, come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
Indiana SRN, where you...
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Back from the Sports Zone, Keith Myers, Bill Peebles, head coach of Cathedral High School, football coach. And Bill, before we get to that special call as a coach, I know that you have just realized that IPSathletics.tv is going to be one of our partners this year, as we're going to cover IPS football and volleyball this year. I think that's a big deal for not only for the IPS folks, but also for the City Alliance.
I think it's really, really great, and I think that for the IPS to have that opportunity for their parents and grandparents and people that live out of the city to be able to listen to their kids play ball and all that, I think it's a great opportunity.
Talk a little bit, if you would. Is there a vast improvement do you see with the 4 schools that make the IPS teams? Is there more improvement? I know Tech has improved. Shortridge maybe still needs some work. Washington had a halfway decent season, and Attucks won a sectional. So is there some vast improvement?
Sure.
Do you see that?
Absolutely. Will Patterson, who was at Tech, and he actually just took the head job at Lawrence Central, and he was one of my assistants when I was at Lawrence Central. He's a great coach and did a great job at Tech. Coach Moorman at Washington has been at Attucks, has been at Shortridge, and everywhere he goes, he has success. And Attucks had great success last year, had one of their best years in a very long time. They're doing good things. I think it's really important for those schools to have great football. There's a large number of male athletes, male students in all those schools. They have an impact. Most football players are type A personality guys. And the more positive interaction that coaches and male influences have on those guys, to be leaders in the school means those schools will be better schools with successful football program.
I completely agree, and we're excited about being part of that community. So let's talk a little bit about your favorite coaching move ever. Do you have one?
All right, and this is going to be very unusual. I mean, I'm a bit of a risk taker, okay, when it comes to favorite coaching moves, when it comes to plays. But I'll tell you my best, smartest coaching move. In 2005, I was offered the job at Southport High School. And it was not a very good program at the time. And I had a son coming up, Jacob, who 3 years from 2005 was going to enter Cathedral High School. And I made the decision to leave Cathedral High School, where my father went and all my siblings went, knowing that I would lose the chance to coach my own son. And I look back on that, and it was a really hard decision. It was a great decision for my son, number one, because he walked into Cathedral High School. He didn't have to worry about being the coach's son. He just proved himself, was a 2-year starter, won multiple state championships, 3 state championships in his time there. And I had the opportunity to prove myself as a coach. And I think for both of us, it was a very positive move.
Coach, as always, it's a pleasure. Hope that we see you during football season. I know that I'll come over and visit you because you do a good job by buying me lunch at the Lincoln Square, because I like that, and I can't wait to do that again. So, but we'll see you soon. And Coach, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Keith.
You bet. We'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more for you on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon. Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Indiana. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052. You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. Well, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but I am from Madison, Indiana. That's where that's where I started my career, actually, in radio. Madison, Indiana, and a good old radio station called WORX 96.7. And Travis Calvert was not there then because he was much younger than I am, but he joins us on the hotline. It's been a long time since I talked to hometown folks.
It has been. It's been quite a while.
You know, the Sports Zone's been around for a long time. As you know, we've been doing this show during the summer, and with the virus that's went on, we started this way back in March. Can you believe that? We were in the sectional when we started the show and doing it daily now, Monday through Friday from 11 to noon. And I know you haven't caught it, but welcome. And how's things going down in Madison?
Hi, Keith. Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's, as you can imagine, it's quiet, but then again, it's kind of not. So that kind of makes sense. But, we're kind of, I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere, but it's not, quote unquote, as scary as it might be in maybe some metropolitan areas or whatever. But it's going okay.
Talk a little bit about, because I know we were going to hook up. I think we saw each other in the semi-states for girls, and then we were going to head back down in regional action. Talk a little bit about, now it's been 2.5 months since the basketball season has officially ended, but talk a little bit about the teams down in the southern part of the state, because there was going to make some run, a lot of teams were going to make some runs to maybe the state finals.
Yeah, with the boys, obviously the girls had finished up, and we had just finished up with our sectionals when all this happened. The teams that I was associated with in Calvert, of course, Shaw Memorial, which is a small Catholic school there in Madison, they bowed out in the sectional, and then got a chance to see Silver Creek, and boy, let me tell you, Keith, Silver Creek is the real deal. I saw them twice this year. And a lot of people were talking about another return trip to Indianapolis, and I think that they had a chance to possibly do that. I think their road was pretty good, and pardon me, they were really good. They actually defeated Madison in the sectional championship game down at Corydon. I didn't get a chance to do that game. I was at Southwestern Hanover, where Providence knocked them off in the championship game, and Providence was a solid team too this year. They had avenged an earlier season loss to Southwestern, and I think that was another team that could have possibly done a really good job down the road.
You talk about the small schools down there in the Ohio Valley, the Ohio River Valley, where I grew up watching Jacksonville, Milan, Rising Sun, Shaw, South Ripley, Southwestern, and Switzerland County. That's
correct? Yes, that's correct.
Did that by memory. How about that?
That's pretty good.
That's and that's a 60-year-old man doing that at 11:40 in the morning. That's not too bad. So talk about that conference has been year in, year out, has been a really, really good. Milan used to dominate that conference in the 80s, and then someone else has taken over it back and forth. That's a pretty solid little conference.
It really is, Keith. If you look back, the conference has its beginnings back in the 50s, I think. And if you look back to the day back when it was Hanover High School before it became Southwestern, and then Southwestern became a school in the 60s. Shaw Memorial had some really good teams in the late 50s. Southwestern, of course, had a Mr. Basketball with Steve Collier back in the early 70s, and they were a power. And then in the 80s, South Ripley had some really good teams. They're in Versailles. You mentioned Milan. Milan became a full-fledged member in the mid-80s, and then once we went to class basketball, they were really good. I think they went to the Final Four a couple of times in the late 90s. Rising Sun has been solid. Jacksonville, they won a state title in 2009, I believe, in the boys' side. And, if you want to switch over and talk about the girls' side, pardon me, Rising Sun had a state finalist in the right around 2000, I think. Of course, Donna Cheatham, when she was at Southwestern, and I had a chance to coach alongside her for a number of years. They won a state title in 2002 and then finished runner-up in 2003. Jacksonville, they're in Osgood. Coach Scott Smith does an outstanding job. A good friend of mine, and they've won I think 14 or 15 sectional titles in a row, and they finally capped it off with a state title a number of years ago. So it's really good basketball for small schools. I mean, there's 3 1A schools and 4 2A schools. So that kind of makes it kind of a nice balance.
Yeah, we're talking with Travis Calvert. He is from WORX 96.7 down in Jeffersonville and Madison, Hanover. I mean, you could throw a stick at all the little small towns. Let's talk a little bit about Switzerland County. They are now in their, I do believe, 6th year or maybe 4th year in football. Has that made an impact with that small? It's a pretty large school, but has that made an impact for them? And what do you expect them to do this year? Because I know now Ryan's been there. This is his 6th year at the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's right. The community has really gotten around the football program, and there's a lot of support, not only from the school but the community as well. I know David Todd, the principal, Mark Boggs, the athletic director. I know them very well, and Ryan Jessup he also does an outstanding job with the football program. And they've been on the cusp of I want to say 500 here the last couple of years, and until they get into the playoffs and they run into some really big shots. I think Providence, Triton Central comes to mind that they're not able to compete with them yet, but they're doing a nice job. They've got an adequate amount of kids that come out in the football program, and I know that the enthusiasm at the lower levels, not only the JV but the youth leagues, is there for them, and that's always a good thing.
Also, then we have to talk down, if we're talking football, I talk about Rock Creek Academy, who also is down in that area. You've covered them a couple of times. Josh Conwell has been there now 2 years. Rough year last year, but that program has developed to be a pretty solid team down there. And then with the expansion of their new gymnasium, they're really making some noise as well.
They are, and again, they fall into the lower level, the smaller 1As. You talk about Rock Creek, you talk about Switzerland County. I know they're 2A, but those type of programs, and Rock Creek's one of those ones too. They're just kind of getting started, but the enthusiasm again is there, and the numbers have been for the most part pretty solid. So that's somebody. A school that has taken the ball and run with it. And I mean, they're able to pull kids in. I mean, if you think about it, Rock Creek's right there between Silver Creek and Charlestown and Clarksville, and all right there in that little area. So it's really important for them to have numbers, and so far they've been able to do that.
Yeah, we're talking with Travis Calvert, who is from WORX 96.7 down in Madison. He does a lot of football, a lot of basketball for the region. I'm going to take you back one time here real quick. 2018-2019, 5 overtimes in a sectional. Waldron 67, Jacksonville 61. I'm sorry, Jacksonville 67, Waldron 61. Where were you at in that 5 overtime game?
I honestly, Keith, I was watching it on my phone. I did not have a game that night, and I was sitting in my living room on my phone watching SEI Local Sports, who is Bryce Kendrick, who is down in this area. And I was watching that game, and it kept going on, and I was hanging on every basket and everything, whatever. It was an unbelievable ball game that they finally, was able to pull out there in the end.
Wasn't that the best basketball game in the last 5 years in girls basketball?
I think so.
Truly one of the best. I think the state finals this year in 4A was pretty good, but that was the best game. And when you talk to both coaches remember it totally different. One coach remembers cutting down the nets, and it was an outstanding game. And the other coach says, I remember just leaving the floor going, we just lost the game. But you look back in the history of that, 5 overtimes. And if you remember, both teams had an opportunity to win that in regulation. It was just a crazy game. And I freely admit, I come back, wish there was a replay of that game, because I could sit there and watch that game over and over again.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and that was one of those games where it could have gone either way, and you felt bad for the kids at Waldron because it was on their home floor. But hats off to Jacksonville because they finally found a way to win there in the end. And ironically, Keith, that's not the first 5 overtime game I have sit through. I was personally at a 5 overtime boys game back in the early 2000s with Shaw Memorial and Rising Sun, talking about the ORVC. I sat through a 5 overtime game at Rising Sun. So two of those in my lifetime is a lot.
My fondest memory as I officiated down in the southern part of the state once I moved up to the Indianapolis area, and I had the Madison Shaw Southwestern Hanover game on the day before Thanksgiving on a Wednesday night. where both teams shot 63%. We shot one free throw only, and we got done in an hour and 7 minutes. And I still remember this day, both coaches come in and invited both the officiating crew to go get a beer because it was 8:05 by the time we got done with the game.
That's impressive.
You know, you have games like that, and then you have games like, you know, the 3, 4, or 5 overtime game, or the game that you wish you could just get out of it because it was that bad.
Absolutely. I've been through a few of those myself, especially on the broadcasting end.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, Travis. When we come back, we're going to talk about football in the southern region down there, and we'll take a break. We'll be right back. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Back on the Sports Zone on this fine day. Early morning for you. Well, it's not even early morning. It's almost mid-afternoon for you. You probably have already worked 4 or 5 hours, haven't you?
I've been at work for a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Travis Calvert with us from WORX 96.7. He does the sports for them. And, you know, that's an old radio station that's covered the southern part of the state really, really well over the years. And I know we've ran into each other at Jeffersonville and the other regionals and semi-states. It's been a lot of fun just to rekindle that relationship. Football season looks like it's going to start in July. So we're 50 days away from July 4th. Hopefully that will open up the doors a little bit. Your take on that, and what is your take for Southern Indiana football?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to be one little baby step at a time. And, you know, I know everybody's thinking about, you know, the steps to take and, you know, school administrators have a lot on their plate. And of course, you know, we're not far behind on, you know, are we going to be allowed to do stuff? And we figure we are. So we got to kind of go down that road and everything. So we're obviously looking forward. It's been, obviously with no spring sports this year, so we haven't had a chance to broadcast any baseball or softball games. So that's kind of putting a kibosh, if you will, on our end. But you know, when you're looking ahead to football season, obviously we cover the Hoosier Hills Conference. You know, you've got to talk about Columbus East. If you don't, then you're overlooking the pink elephant in the room, so to speak. So Bob Gaddis, you know, number of years at East, and they're always a powerhouse. Bedford has been the same way, kind of up and down. The last few years, they've been pretty good. Same thing, New Albany and Jeff are very athletic. With that going on, you want to talk about small schools, Milan and the ORVC, even though that they do not have football, Ryan Langferman and company there in Milan are just a power in 2A every year, and they do such a great job with that Indian football program.
You know, you talk about those schools, and then you got, you got so many. I mean, Jeffersonville could be halfway decent again this year as well, couldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they always seem to bring in. I'm trying to think. It's one of those where you can't think. He was Brian Glazer. That's it. He came over from Floyd Central and is now the coach of Jeff, and they're coming up. They have the opportunity to be right there. They were battling until they ran into the buzzsaw as known as Columbus East last year for a Hoosier Hills Conference title. So they have the opportunity as well to make a claim and make a statement this upcoming season.
You know, if you're living down in the southern part of the state, because I know Travis called all of his friends during the break and told him, "Hey, I'm on the Sports Zone." Make sure you say hi to Travis during the regular season. I know we'll be looking forward. We'll touch base again, and this has to happen a little bit more than just every 3 or 4 months. We got to connect a little bit. Hey, thank you for your hospitality too down in Jeffersonville during the girls semi-state. It was a lot of fun to catching up with you, and we'll get on to those fields soon enough.
Absolutely, Keith. I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime you want to call me up and chat, if you want to do it weekly, that's fine with me, and appreciate everything you guys do for us and for sports and everything, especially with Indiana SRN as well.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more in store for you. You're listening to the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052.
Piper Group Warehouse has a strong commitment to their clients as their logistics provider. If you would like to discover how you can improve your service levels while lowering your overall cost, Piper Logistics Group can help. Call Greg Piper today at 317-396-3916. Piper Logistics Group.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get. We know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. Back at the Sports Zone, we go from the southern part of the state up to central Indiana, and we go to Joe Hansen. He is the principal and color commentary of Indiana SRN. He is in charge. He does wrestling with Shane Ryder, and First of all, as a principal, I watch your little videos every day and your encouragement and just the sound advice that you give a student athlete, and every single advice that you give them, I take kind of pride into doing exactly what you asked me to do. And I love the community part of your pep rally type of thing every day.
Well, thank you. You commented on my my social media account. I'm really active on Twitter, and I've always said, there's two things that kind of guide me when I use social media, and that's, I always try to promote the good things that are going on at Bishop Chatard High School, and then I always like to demonstrate good social media behavior to our students, and you'll never see me tweet anything that's not inspirational, doesn't give glory to God, or doesn't, showcase some of our young athletes, some of our young scholars, or some of our coaches and teachers. So you've always been very complimentary of my Twitter account, Keith, and I appreciate that, because you mentioned the word community. That's all I'm trying to do is just showcase this wonderful Bishop Chatard community.
Let's talk, before we talk wrestling and what you do with Indiana SRN, let's talk about maybe being a principal this time as school is out now for your seniors. They're done. You got maybe a week left for your Chatard students. I know it's difficult times, but Joe, how has your student body, how has your faculty respond to your leadership?
I don't know if it's my leadership as much as it is just us, coming together, the parents, the teachers, the support staff, administration, and just wanting to help these kids during this time of need. I mean, you said, what's it like being a principal during this time? It's extremely difficult. I've been in education 20 plus years, and never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be called upon to reinvent what school looks like. And that's what it feels like. On March 12th, there was the decision to close all of our schools down, and none of us knew that meant for the rest of the year. And the class of 2020 walked out of here thinking that they would be back, that, hey, we said see you in April. Little did we know that there would be a directive from the Indiana Department of Education and the governor saying that, we're not going to return to school. And, sports-wise and campus-wise, we can't return to this building until after June 30th. So it's been very, very tough on our students and our teachers, but most especially the class of 2020, because, Keith, they've lost a lot of things. We had a walkathon scheduled in April, talent show, prom, baccalaureate, graduation, fine arts nights. We missed our school play, by about 5 days. So, all those kids that are involved in theater and tech theater, they didn't get to do their final production. So it's been very, very tough.
As a sports leader that we are in Central Indiana, I talked to a lot of coaches and a lot of officials, and one of the things that a lot of people have said was they just miss the kids. They just miss the Friday night lights. They miss going into the gym. They miss hearing the pep band. And I know myself, as you and I talk off the air, I've really missed that, and sometimes it's frustrating. How do you release that? I mean, I'm now starting to walk with Debbie a little bit more. She walks about 6 miles a day. I don't want to walk that much, but how do you release that tension a little bit, Joe?
I give it to God. I mean, it's really becoming prayerful and trusting in His providence, and exercise and diet are important, and processing this with my coworkers. I have a wonderful leadership team, and something we did the other night here at Bishop Chatard, we had a virtual bingo game. So we passed out bingo cards to our teachers, and we got together, and I called the bingo numbers and gave out prizes. We played, and that was really good for our morale. So, just trying to stay hopeful. The Bible says that hope never disappoints. Mm. And I'm trying to stay hopeful and realizing that one day, we'll be back in school. One day, you and Keith and I, you and I are going to be on the sidelines cheering for somebody or broadcasting or whatever, and just trying to remain hopeful that normalcy will come back one day.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that day. July is coming. I've been reminded of that all the time. I now have a calendar in the office that X down every day to that July 4th date, and that I'm holding hope that that's where I can go and on July 4th celebrate the 4th of July, and then on the 5th go to the schools that we do and welcome everybody back. But we just got to be cautious and got to be very patient because it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait.
I think you said it best, cautious and patient.
Talk a little bit about the remodeling that's going on at the school. I hear that you're going to put in some bleachers in that facility.
Yes, so the last 2 years, I think it was the 18th or the 17th of August, 2018, we hosted our first home football game ever. So keep in mind this school's been around since 1961, first graduating class was 1965. We had never hosted home games until August of 2018. And the last 2 years, have put in temporary bleachers, but now we finally have the full funding to put in home side bleachers. So on the west side of our stadium, we're going to have home side bleachers that are probably going to be twice as big as our visitor section, and it's going to have a press box with 5 separate rooms, and just kind of the completion of President Som's strategic plan and his vision to kind of expand the stadium. So we are super, super excited that those bleachers are finally going to be put in.
The cool thing about that, Joe, is we broadcast that game on internet radio on Indiana SRN.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we won. We won.
Yeah. Well, you always win games, don't you? You win the state championship.
We win a lot.
Yeah, I like it. I like it when you say, "Hey, if you want to be a manager, you got an opportunity to go down to Bankers to the field to the dome and get to do a state championship." I got to do the last 5 years. I kind of like that, seeing you and hey, I'm kind of busy right now. I got to pass out medals, move out of my way. It's tongue in cheek, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's all of our sports, but especially that football team to win our 14th state championship last year in such a dominating way, and Coach Doyle's really doing a nice job with our program, and I think we'll be back and better than ever next year.
Talk a little bit with your role at Indiana SRN. This will be our 3rd year that we'll be covering wrestling this year. Shane Ryder and you have developed a great relationship. You let me tag on and let me do what I do. I'm not as good as you guys, but it works, and that team works very, very well. And how about going from 1 or 2 matches the first year to 12 last year with the semi-state, and this year it's even going to look like it's going to blow up even more.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I think the head coach at Roncalli, Wade McClure, recommended me to do color commentary at the Cathedral Roncalli wrestling match because, he knew that I knew a lot about both rosters because I'm so involved in wrestling. And you took a chance on me, and it's worked out. And last year, I think we really hit our rhythm with, I know you hired a professional like Shane Ryder who works for the Indianapolis Indians, and that is his major and his passion. And I think he just elevated our broadcast. And I tell you, I couldn't be happier. I love all sports, and I support every single sport, from fall to spring, boys and girls, whatever. But I especially love the sport of wrestling, and I think it's a sport that changes lives. And, I always say I'm one of the few principals in the state of Indiana that has cauliflower ear. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled in college at Indiana University. And I just love the sport so much. And when Indiana SRN started to reach out and make this a part of their ministry, I'm 100% on board. And there's not a broadcast that goes by, and I don't care who it is that we're broadcasting. It's the great sport of wrestling, and I'm so proud that you guys have decided to showcase that with your broadcasts.
This year we did the Circle City Conference championships from Guerin Catholic, and what blew me away, Joe, is after everything was done, we had 500 people watching it live, and then 2 days later I look back at the replay and there's 500 plus more people. The word is getting out, and I think we do it right, but I think we reflect on the school and the coaching, but more importantly that student athlete, and I think those kids appreciate that a lot because there's the honest pure of that kid and what he's doing on and off the mat, and really wrestling for his school.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I've always thought Indiana SRN does that really well. They put the kids first. They showcase the student athletes, and wrestling's such a pure sport. There's nobody really on your team. You're out there alone. You sometimes have to kind of will, your beliefs and your skills on your opponents. And at the end of the day, just kind of like life, there's nobody to blame but yourself. And you see that too when they come off the mat. Keith, you do a nice job of interviewing these kids, and they're out of breath. And they've given it their all, and they're so proud of what they've accomplished with their victory. And you see a lot of humility too in wrestling. There's that fine line between cockiness and confidence, but I think wrestlers, lean towards the confidence because they know that you can be humbled really, really quick in this sport, and it's a tough sport.
And some of those kids are very witty. The Roncalli kids are very witty, and they nickname me names that Boss and Hog.
Yeah,
and all
David
those
Page,
things.
every single time David Page, who was a senior at Roncalli last year, every time you interviewed him, he called you boss. I thought that was so sweet.
Yeah, I thought
and
that.
He is one of the nicest kids in the world. He's a great human being.
He never shared the necklace with me, Joe, though. I don't understand that. I mean, that might be worth a Coke or a popcorn at the concession stand.
There you go.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, Joe. When we come back, we'll talk about Chatard athletics and your plans in the future. And I'm looking forward to football season and talk a little bit about that when we come back. You're listening to Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Chimney Solutions, Indiana, 317-757-6979. The team here at Chimney Solutions travels throughout the Indianapolis area, making chimney and fireplace maintenance as easy, affordable, and stress-free as possible. Whether your chimney system is in need of a simple sweeping or some major repair work, you can count on the Chimney Safety Institute of America certified team at Chimney Solutions to take great care of you. Call us today at 317-757-6979. Chimney Solutions, Indiana.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Indiana. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Back on the Sports Zone, Joe Hansen joins us. He's the principal of Chatard High School. It's July 4th, it looks like the date that it seems like the association is opening up the door. Your thoughts on that, Joe? I know we got to be very patient, but your thoughts on that, and what would be your steps as the principal of the school to tell the athletic department the steps they have to take to get things ready to go for football?
Well, we're still waiting on more guidance from the governor and the Indiana Department of Education. The IHSA has just said that it's okay. They've waived the requirement for the moratorium week in that first week of July. So usually you're starting after July 4th, which I think would be that maybe Monday, July 6th. But now we can start on the 1st. And we have told our coaches to prepare as if we're going to be able to start practices on that day, but we have not said for sure that they are going to start on that day. So I think our coaches are putting plans in place as if we're going to launch on July 1st. But again, we still are waiting on some more specific directives as far as number of kids, how close they can be, and really kind of that overarching umbrella of how do we keep kids safe.
Joe, as we close this interview, you've been very kind to us over the last couple of years. I know that you and your family have prayed for us some difficult times that we've gone through with Debbie, and with the surgery that she had a few weeks ago now has got some cleared bill and some understanding. I know our friendship has grown and to continue to grow. When you do that, who put that mindset in you, and who would be one of the people that you look up to get you that moral support?
Moral support in my personal life. My wife is really a rock. You know, I can go back to her in good times and in bad, and you know, she's always there to lift me up. And you know, I've got a really good support team here. You know, I feel very supported and loved by the teachers and support staff, by the parents, my leadership team, which is, you know, President Bill Somm, Vice Principal Ann Taylor, Vice Principal Ben Riley, Deacon Rick Wagner, Executive Vice President Tyler Mayer, and our business manager Dan Thompson. We meet regularly, and you know, we support each other. So, but again, at the end of the day, my biggest support is my relationship with Christ, and I depend on that, and I surrender to that each day. And I've always said to God, you know, the simple prayer: just use me. Just use me to do great things, and I think that's where I get my energy from.
You forgot Barb Gaffney.
How can I forget Barb Gaffney? Yeah. She's a saint. Yeah,
she's the
Miss
rock.
Her dearly, I really do. She is 80 years old. She's been here 30 plus years, and I see. I'm not really joking when I say saint. I really do think that she will be a saint one day. She's really, really great, and it's fun to watch the kids come in, and they love her so much. They really do.
Yeah, it's always neat to talk to Barb on the phone because I have to get to her to get to you, and she now knows my voice, which is really kind of cool. So maybe she can avoid those things. Joe, here it's Keith Myers, and Joe's always busy. You know, all kidding.
Start blocking my calls, right?
There you go. What would be the inspirational that you would tell people as we close this, Joe? What would you tell people to hunker down and all those things, but get some encouraging words because you're really good at that.
You know, the simple motto that we tell kids here at Bishop Chatard is to trust God and to work hard. And, you know, I would tell people that as well. Throughout all of this, continue to trust God. And even when it seems tough, work hard. And that's not necessarily just work, you know, that gets you a paycheck. Work hard at being the best husband or being the best wife. Work hard at being a good parent. Work hard at being a good student. Work hard at being a friend. If you do your best, great things are going to happen. And again, if you continue to trust God, I guarantee great things will happen.
I thank you very much for working with us. You're a great guy. You're a great access. We got to get you maybe, I know Friday night can't be done because of football, but maybe we got to get you to do some volleyball games this year and get you,
yeah.
I know Shane's going to be doing football and wrestling this year. He's looking forward to being that. He's ready for a production meeting. So I know he's getting geared up for wrestling.
Yeah. You know, and he is great. I look forward to listening to him during football season. I look forward to working with him and you during wrestling season.
Joe, thank you very much for your time. I know you're really busy this morning.
Thanks
for turning. Well, on the hotline is Aaron Ferguson as we wrap up the Sports Zone on this holiday Monday. Hope that you're enjoying your Memorial Day. Got him up early this morning. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, the helmet challenge has been very interesting. As you well know, we have been with you since day one when you launched this thing, and Central Indiana has represented very, very well. I think there's like maybe 5 or 6 schools in the Elite 16 or the Sweet 16, and that voting ends tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern. The championship series begins next Monday, so those teams who win and advance to the Elite 8 get to the Final 4, get to the championship, and man, I tell you what, it's just caught fire, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, and the voting is way up in this round. I don't know if that's just because there's fewer teams and, you know, it's getting a little heated as we get down to the end here, but voting is way up. It seems like I'm getting tweet notifications all the time of people liking, retweeting, and sharing and whatnot, and yeah, it's been really fun to see the school support and some of these battles swinging a couple times already here in the first day.
and I see that Indiana SRN helmet has not received a vote yet, not even from you and not even from our team. So I don't know if you launched that yet, but Indiana SRN has a helmet. We put it in the mix. No other media operator has done this. Not even your Times has put a helmet in. So we will claim victor over the media helmet.
I'm good with that. You're the only one to submit.
Okay, so do we get the $1,000?
No $1,000, unfortunately.
Okay. Hey, talk a little bit about the teams around the area, though. You started this with over 80 helmets, and now, as you said, in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, and then there's not even a state champion. They will go on to do the national championship. Talk a little bit about that. We got a couple minutes to talk about that.
Yeah, so it's really been cool to see, all these teams from different regions of the state, and just kind of learning a little bit more about them. And we had a battle between West Lafayette and Lafayette Jeff, and that was pretty cool to watch, those schools banter back and forth. It's really cool to see some of these small schools. I mean, West Washington has just an absolute great helmet, the Senators, and they just keep racking up the votes in large numbers. And I don't know if that's other people from larger schools scrolling through the thread and saying, hey, we like West Washington's helmet, or, where they're drumming up the support from. But that's something that's really struck me. Some of the players are starting to get into it a little bit more and lobbying for votes. And it's been really cool. And then I've participated in quite a few national tournaments, especially when they've gotten to their Elite Eights and Final Fours and championships. And there's a lot of great helmets out there. I think some of the classic looks, the Michigan winged helmets don't necessarily do as well in some of these states. A lot of people like the new flashy decals, and you see Kokomo, who looks a lot like Kentucky. They've got some nice decals on their helmet, and they've done very well. Lafayette Jeff as well, South Newton as well. And it's been really cool to see, what people like in certain helmets and just really what it looks like, not just across the state of Indiana, but across the country. And when this national tournament kicks off here in mid-June or so, it's going to be really fun to see not just how the Indiana helmet does, but how all the helmets stack up and just the different designs that people have and like, and eventually we'll crown a national champion, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah, I got contacted from Arizona the other day saying, hey, I kind of like what you guys do, listen to the show. And then he also sent me a decal or a helmet that was in their competition, which was kind of cool that, even Arizona has reached out to the Indiana market to look at what we're doing. And, that's a contribute to you guys and a bunch of sports writers getting together on a board night and say, let's do this. And it's just blown up, which is kind of good. Congratulations. Job well done.
Yeah, thanks. And all credit goes to Trevor Arnold, who's up in, I'm not going to try to butcher his school's name, but he's up in Iowa. He kind of started this whole thing and is running the national thing. And I saw it from Travis Myers in Illinois, where I was at my last job. So I was pretty invested in seeing the different helmets and communities come together for that one. And Indiana needed someone to run theirs. And I said, hey, I just recently moved here. I'll do it. It's an opportunity for me to learn different communities and, I guess get to know them a little bit and have them get to know me a little bit. And it's just been a total blast.
If people want to retweet or follow you, tell them how to follow, how to vote, because voting ends today at 1:00 Eastern. So you got about an hour after the Sports Zone show as we're heading past noon here. So Eastern, you got about 50 minutes or so. How can they get a hold of you, or how can they vote?
Yeah, you can go to my Twitter page. It's at sports_Aaron, AARON. And then the top tweet on my profile, you can just click on that and scroll through. You can see all the helmets. You can see the polls below them. Make sure you vote in the poll and pick the school that you want, because then if you just reply to my tweet or just, try to vote any other way, it's not going to count. It's just whatever's in that poll is going to be who wins, and voting will end tomorrow, Tuesday actually, and then the next set of polls will kick off on Wednesday.
There you go. Well, we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That wraps it up for us. Enjoy your holiday weekend and enjoy Memorial Day. God bless everybody.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.